Welcome to the Sisterhood Tea Party, where we get together weekly to discuss all the tea about life, relationships, pop culture, and generally anything you chat about with your best friend over a cup of tea or beverage of choice.
We're your hosts, Stephanie and Jessica, and we've been spilling the tea to each other for more than a decade, and now we're ready to invite the rest of you to the tea party.
Hello, friend.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. You know, staying busy, living life. You know the drill. How are you?
So busy, but also doing well, doing good.
Good.
Tired, but good. And I'm excited. We're here today.
We are here. I'm very excited.
And I'm so excited for this topic too, because this is like something you and I have talked about before. Like, it's real. It's leaving your hometown.
It is. And it's like, this is something that has been going on in our life for like, we've talked about this for years. Like before a podcast, before any of this, like this has just been something that's been, part of both of our journeys and our story. So I'm very excited to talk about this.
And I feel like it's something that if you've never left your hometown, it's something you wonder about. And if you have left your hometown, like you're like, yep, that's a thing. It's a moment.
Absolutely. Like it's something that I feel like everyone should experience once leaving your hometown.
100%.
Whether you stay within the, like we're speaking like US, if you stay within like the area, you just leave the city or leave the state, or if you decide to take it international and do that, I feel like it's just, you just have to experience life outside of your hometown. I think it's so important.
Rite of passage. Well, before we dive into that, everybody knows we like to start with our top of mind. So if you want to kick us off, what's top of mind for you right now?
Well, I don't think I've told you this, but what's top of mind is that I'm going to see Meg the Stallion in concert next month.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
Yes, I'm so excited. It truly is going to be a summer for the hotties, okay? Hot girl summer. I'm so excited. So
Oh my
excited.
gosh, that's gonna be incredible. Like, okay, wait, do you have an outfit picked out?
Yes, I do. It didn't take me, I thought it was going to take me forever to find it, but like I knew kind of the vibe that I wanted to go with. I wanted to do very like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just very like grown and
Hot girl.
sexy. It's hot girl.
Yes.
But there are two versions. So I bought like these cargo pants, like wide leg cargo pants vibes, wearing sneakers because if anything I've learned in this life is that you do not wear heels to concerts. Like because
No, absolutely not.
yeah, my friend Corey and I are going and we realize we are not trying to stand. We are like not trying to stand in heels. Like I don't mind standing at a concert, but in heels, absolutely not.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So wearing sneakers, I have like a wide leg cargo pant, and then I ordered I ordered 6 tops, but I'm keeping
my God. I mean, Meg deserves the best, so
right.
fair.
So I
But
was like, I needed
6.
because I wanted the top to be very like out there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just they're black tops. So again, they're black, so it keeps like the sexy vibe, but also still like classy in a sense. So the two that I've narrowed it down to, one of them is like a tube top situation. It cinches on the side, so it shows off like my hips. Yeah, girl. With the wide, it looks great. And then the other one shows off, the assets, the front a little bit, a little, cha-cha.
Just a little moment
A little
there.
moment there, and it looks great. I was like,
Oh man.
is that me wearing
Who,
that
me?
exposed? Oh my. So
I cannot wait.
I should put a poll out, but like I don't know if I'm bold enough to put that out there yet. But like if I wear that other option, it's going on the internet. So it's fine.
Rocket. I'm sure you're gonna look incredible. And I love like a cargo pant tube top vibe too.
Yes.
Like I love. It's
Yes.
very 90s.
I'm gonna text you the
I love
pics. I'm
it.
gonna
Okay.
text them so you can see. But yeah, I'll put them like side by side so you can help me decide as well. But I'm very excited about the concert.
Ah,
It's just gonna be a vibe. And like I've been telling my friends this whole time, I just want to be outside. I just want to experience things. So this is part of the experience.
wait, is it still called AT&T Stadium? What is it called now? Is that
The
what it's called?
American Airlines
Oh,
Center. Yeah, the AAC is what we call it.
gotcha.
I think that's where it's at. Corey's gonna correct me. I have no idea. I think it's at the AAC.
You're like,
So
I'm just here. I'll just
I'm
show
just
up.
here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's where it's at. So,
Mm,
it'll be thankfully indoors in June. So,
mm, that's fun. That is so
yes,
fun. I'm so jealous.
yes, girl. What about you? What
Um,
you got?
so for me, I am excited for the Summer Olympics. So I have never been one who follows the Olympics, actually,
Hmm.
ever. Like I've
Really?
like obviously I know some of the big names, like Simone Biles and Michael Phelps and Shaun White. Like I know some big names, obviously, but
Yeah.
like never watched it. But I love LeBron James. I have been following LeBron James since basically my
Did I
husband and
know
I got
that?
together.
Did I
I
know that?
mean, I don't know. I feel like my love for him has grown so much over the years because like I became a fan because my husband's a fan. So when I didn't know anything about basketball and then we met and then he was a huge fan and then I've just like been following LeBron James ever since. And so I've
Mm,
just like grown to love him. I think he's such a good human too and I love him and he's incredible. And this summer he's going to be playing for the USA basketball team along with like a
yeah.
bunch of other huge
It's
basketball names
stacked.
and
The
it's
roster is stacked.
like literally, and how cool is that you get to see all these greats play together? That's so
Right.
fun. So fun. So I'm so excited about that. And so my husband and I were talking about it. And also because like LeBron James is the oldest player in the league. So like
Mm,
he
hmm.
doesn't have that many years left. So for me and him, it's like we want to take every opportunity we can to watch him play because we don't have much time left. Like last year we
Yeah.
literally flew to LA to watch him play for a game because we were like, we just want to see him. And so
Yeah.
really excited about that. But we're like, you know what? We should just get into the Olympics overall. So we are gonna try to like really get into it this year across all the sports. Like, did you know that there's a 3x3 basketball
Yes.
sport?
That's why I was
Know
shocked
that.
that you've never really watched the Olympics. I'm like, yes. That's why I'm like, it's a thing. It's so cool. Yes.
No, I'm so excited. So yeah, we're gonna try to make it a whole thing and really get into it this year. And normally I'm not like America, but I'm gonna be like USA, USA. I'm gonna be
USA. USA.
like, what is that TikTok that's like
Oh yeah, and
these
it's like
these
the
these colors don't bleed or
right, and like
something?
the eagle in the background is like, like something.
That's gonna be me. I'm gonna be insufferable. And then as
Right.
soon as it's over and
USA.
I'm gonna be
USA. That's
over
gonna
it.
be us. We're wearing the colors for like a hot second, and they're off. We're like, we're done.
Yeah, yeah. But like, yes, maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm not
I
putting
still
USA. I'm
hesitant.
just wearing. I just maybe like a red or
It
blue shirt or
depends.
something.
Like maybe if like Beyonce comes out with some like American flag merch, I will consider it. But like anything
Yeah.
else, I don't know.
Anything
We'll
Cowboy
see.
Carter with red, white, and blue on it, I
Yeah,
would wear it. I don't care.
yes. But like I don't know if I could do like the old Navy red, white, and blue. I don't know. We'll see.
There was a time and a place.
Yeah, there was a time and a place. Things have changed.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's top of mind for me. I'm excited.
I love it. I love it. Well, should we get into the real tea of today?
Let's do it. I love this topic. I'm so excited.
Same, same. So we're talking about our hometowns and leaving our hometowns. And so we figured it'd be really fun for us to kind of talk about our experiences and history with this. Talk about where we came from, our journey. 'Cause Jess and I kind of have two different elements of leaving our hometowns. So Jess, I'm gonna let you kick it off and just kind of talk about your history behind leaving.
Yeah. So this is a fun one for me because like define hometown. Like it's such a weird question for me when somebody's like, where are you from? Because I've lived in so many different places. Like for me, leaving my hometown was quite natural because I have moved so much. So I was born in San Diego and then I lived in I actually like my family was like, let's move to Colorado. And that only lasted like 3 months and they hated it. And they moved back to California. And then, then we lived in like different parts of like Riverside County. And then when I was in high school, my parents were like, let's move to Kansas. And then I lived in Kansas for 10 years in like different cities in Kansas, like where my parents lived. And then I went to college in one city and then grad school in another city. And then I got a job in San Francisco and then I moved to San Francisco and now I'm back in Colorado. And so I think for me, it's like moving was always very natural. Like I'm very nomadic in nature. And still I'm like, Colorado's not my forever home. Where are we going
Mhm.
to go next? Um, and so it was always quite natural for me to like, yeah, you move. Like I was never like attached to a single place and like that's my hometown that I have to stay in or feel that need to stay actually, which I think came a lot from like my parents moved around a lot too when they were younger. And so it's just kind of like a natural thing for me. But
Right.
I learned every single move, which we'll talk about too. Yeah. What about you though? Because you're yeah, like you said, yours is a different story.
Yeah, mine's a little bit different. So, being born and raised in Kansas, I was able to travel, with family throughout the years, but we never really moved anywhere. I had to take it upon myself to move. And so, after 23 years of living in the same hometown, I went to undergrad there and everything. I decided it was time for me to experience life outside of my hometown. Fun fact, I don't know if you knew this, or maybe you did. Do you remember the paper, like the local paper, writing an article about me leaving the hometown to move to San Antonio? I
Low
literally
key, I have this like memory in the back of my
I
head
need
about
to
this a
go.
little bit. Yes.
I still have the article cut out. Like, it's literally sitting in my room. Like, it's in like a box somewhere. I should have brought it out while we were talking about this. But oh, maybe we'll post it
I
online.
mean, there was the same thing happened to me when I moved to San Francisco,
Yes.
and my parents like small town. They wrote an article about me moving to San
Yes.
Francisco as well. Like that's such a small town thing. I freaking love that.
It's such a small town thing to be like, oh, she's leaving the community. She's been here for all her life, and she's just like, as if nobody else did that. But maybe it was like they're
But
trying to hit
you
like,
had an article.
I had an article. I think they were just trying to hit like a diversity quota or something. I don't really know, honestly. Oh, I mean, where we both went to college. You
Oh yeah,
understand.
we know.
So
I
anyway,
love it.
so when so when I left, I was like, okay, where am I going to go? Because I knew that I was ready to get out of my hometown, and I was ready to experience life outside. So I actually think I had a conversation with you because I was like, I'm so over
I
it.
remember this conversation. Like I
Yes.
remember it so vividly.
Yes, and I was so burnt out, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And you're like, well, why don't you just move? Like, we just go somewhere. And I'm like, I don't know where. And you're like, okay, well, like, make a list and like find places that you like. And I was like, you're right. So I made a list of schools that I was maybe interested in, and I applied to all of them, got into all of them, but I ultimately decided on San Antonio. So went to grad school in San Antonio. That was like my first experience of like being outside of my hometown and being outside of Kansas, because I only had like a very small view of the world at the time. And so when I experienced life in San Antonio, it opened my eyes to so many different things. And
Hmm.
I experienced like being at a school that was, listed as an HSI, so a Hispanic Serving Institution. That was a new concept to me. I didn't even know that sort of thing existed.
Hmm.
And the cohort that I was a part of in grad school was so diverse. I met people from different walks of life, different ages. I mean, I had, again, my whole mindset was like, oh, people are in grad school are my age, which I was 22, 23 at the time, meeting, 56-year-old people in my classes that were also in grad school. I was like, wait, what? I
Yeah.
was very, I knew nothing. Okay. And San
Yeah.
Antonio, I grew up real quick, and I learned so much about myself and experienced life there, before ultimately moving to Dallas, which we've talked about Dallas before. But um, I think the
But I
biggest
think that's
thing, yeah,
the most beautiful thing, right? Is that like
right.
how much you learn when you move. I mean, it was very similar for me too. It was
Yeah.
like I went even the move from living in California to moving to Kansas was like culture shock. Like
Oh, yeah.
I was like I went from like a class of like 400 people to a class of 70. Like that's like a city to two stoplights. Like even just like any kind of move like that, like I feel like it was maybe like the opposite of like what you said you experienced when you went to San Antonio. It was like the
It
opposite for me.
was.
I was like, whoa, like I would
Yes.
never know that people live differently than where you lived before if you never leave.
Right, exactly. Like, leaving and going to San Antonio, that was the first time I experienced that there are like suburbs within like a major metro, and knowing that
Yeah.
like, oh, I live this part of like, oh, I live in San Antonio. Well, which part? What do you mean, which part? I live here. Like, isn't it
Yeah.
not San Antonio? And knowing
Yeah.
that there's like suburbs and different neighborhoods, and like there's just a plethora of opportunities, and there's multiple universities in the same city. I'm like, what do you
Yeah.
mean there's like four or five different like universities here? It's like there's so many opportunities there. And I think for me, being able to leave allowed me to kind of like experience more diversity and get out of the small town mindset that I had experienced and really just hear people out, learn and grow from these experiences. I mean, I still think back to those were some great days that I had in San Antonio because I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about others. And I feel like those experiences shaped me to, I mean, who I am today and like why basically why I'm still living in Texas. Granted, Texas is
Mhm.
not always the best, but again, it's a bit
Mhm.
about who you surround yourself with. And again, I've talked about this time and time again. My people here, people I've met not only in San Antonio, but also here in Dallas, like you just have to find good people and like and know that like you if you want to surround yourself with like-minded people, like you have to do the work and find it. And I think that
Mhm.
leaving your hometown allows you to do that and experience that.
100%. There's so many things that like that you learn from moving, like whether it's like you said, like it like broadens your horizon. It forces you to evaluate the differences between
Mhm,
where you were living before versus now. Like from big ones to small ones, right? Like big
mhm.
ones, like you're talking about like diversity and meeting people from different walks of life and things like that, to even like just like how do you problem solve and how do you like get things done when like if you've lived in the same place since you were a kid, you like or even like for a long extended period of time, like you just know where your things are and what you go do and who the people are to talk to and how to get things done. You move somewhere
Yep.
new and it's like starting completely fresh. You have to learn to be independent.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned too. Is like I have to really go out there and figure out, okay, how do I pay rent? What do I do if this happens? Like it's just there are so many things that I had to learn and you just one day you just pick up on all of it and it makes sense and it is part of your, every day. But yeah, there's definitely a huge learning curve to being independent when you first are out on your own in a new environment, for sure.
Yeah. And I think like parts of it, I'm curious your thoughts on this, but like for me, I think independence is twofold. Like in some ways, it's very empowering, it's very exciting, and like you feel free. And then it can be lonely. Like it can be like, whoa, like I like
Mhm.
literally don't know anyone here. And like I don't think
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, I don't want to like gloss over that part because it is real, but I think
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Yeah, there's a real part of that of when I first moved, I was very lonely when I first moved. Even though, yeah, I had grad school and, I was meeting people in classes, there's still a part of me, I'm like, I truly still don't really know anybody, and that was the first like part of my life where I realized I don't have my family right there. I don't have my friends that are right there anymore that I can see if I need to. And, keeping up the communication with, I mean, obviously family, but like also keeping communication with your friends, that also is challenging too. But learning
Hmm.
to be, going back to the independence part, being able to like understand that it's okay to be, alone and like living alone and
Yeah,
being by yourself and building that independence and building the confidence to be like, you know what, I can do this. And now I absolutely, I mean, me being single, I also love living alone too. I've definitely had roommates over the years living in between San Antonio and here. Definitely had roommates, did not work out. Um, and that is a separate conversation for a different day. But again, I realized how much I value my independence and how
yeah,
much I really was able to make something of myself in learning things throughout, this experience. So I think
a hundred
independence
percent.
is key. Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree. And I was laughing because I feel like do roommates ever work out? I don't know.
I
In general,
mean,
like roommates
no, they
suck.
don't. You think at the time, like you are so excited about it. You're like, yes,
Yeah.
like I would love to live
Yeah.
with you. And then you start to like learn things about them
Mm-mm,
while living with them. And then they do things that like it keeps
mm-mm.
building. And this particular, I'm gonna get into it. This particular girl that I was living with, I met her through like another friend, but we moved into this house together with a man who was like
I remember
40
this.
something. Yes. He was in his 40s and had like at the time his daughter was 18. So there's like all of us living in this home. She's living downstairs because she has a dog. I'm upstairs. Across the hall is like the guy's room, which I didn't even really know him. And then his daughter was next to me, like in a different room. And it was just like the weirdest experience. But you learn about people very quickly. It was a very odd encounter. Then one day we had to move out like in the middle of the day because we were just over it. And so we moved out before the man got home. It was just this whole thing. Then once I lived with this girl for a little bit, I realized I actually don't really like you. And
Yep.
you don't like me. So I'm like, why are we still living together? So she moved out and then I stayed at the apartment, transferred to a smaller unit. And then ultimately that was my last experience living in San Antonio before I moved. So the answer to
Yeah.
your question, no, roommates don't work out because
No,
you just realize too many things about them.
they
You're like,
don't.
I don't actually want to be around you anymore. So,
Yeah. I will say like even like when I used to live with Haley back in the day, I feel like we became so much closer when we were not roommates. Like
mhm.
it wasn't that we had like issues when we were roommates. We just like, there's just like a level of like, I don't know, tension and like differences when you live with someone, and then like we didn't live together anymore and we became like best friends after that. And it was like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like to me it's just like roommates are I could not have roommates again. Like obviously I'm married now, so I live with my husband, but um I love him. But if I was not, I couldn't live with roommates again. It's tough. But if that's what you have to do to figure out what you want, everybody goes on that journey. It's okay.
Absolutely. And that's like part of like your own personal growth and self-reflection. I mean, because you realize, you know what, maybe roommates are not for me. So like what else have you learned? Like what else like allowed you to, kind of take a step back and realize, all right, what am I
Mm,
learning here? What am I gaining from me leaving my hometown and experiencing life in this city or a new state or whatever it is? So that's also something that I really picked up on was like, what am I being like? What is my purpose? Like, what am I doing? I really had like to sit with myself, especially as I was nearing the end of grad school. I was like, all right, what is my purpose? What am I doing with my life? Because I came out here for a reason. I came out here because I didn't want to be living in my hometown anymore. I was sick and tired of being in Kansas. I was like, I felt stuck. And I'm like, I wanted to get out. So like, what's my purpose? What am I being,
mm,
called to do? Like, what is like kind of like my passion? Where am I being like, where am I going to go? And that's how
yeah.
I kind of stumbled into the world of education and tech because I went to grad school for education, but after working for a couple of years at the university, I was like, it's just not working out for me. I needed an opportunity to continue to grow. And I also, I mean, can't even lie about it. I also needed more money because the bills were stacking up and I was like,
Yeah.
I got to figure something out. So it
Real.
allowed me, yeah, it allowed me to really reflect on like what my purpose was and really decide like where am I going to go career wise and where am I going to go? Where's this going to take me? So I learned a lot about myself in
Yeah.
that moment there.
100%. Like I feel like when I moved to Wichita, also for grad school, like similar to what you were saying, like I met a lot of people from like different walks of life, and especially because like where we lived before it was very small town, right? And so met a lot of people and got exposed to a lot of different things and ideologies. And I think like for me, that's when I started to question a lot of the things that I was taught through like living in small communities and small towns. And like I also started to question a lot of things from like a religious aspect and things like that as I like met other people from different religions. And like that's like where I started just kind of breaking down a lot of stereotypes or just like ideologies that I never questioned before, if you will, in your head that like I don't
Mhm.
know, like before that I was like, yes, you go to school, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, and you have your white picket fence. You know what I mean? And I was like,
Mhm.
wait a second. Like I got there and I was like, wow, all these people don't do any of that. And like, oh, what are they doing? And like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're just like you're exposed to so much more and you're like, sometimes I do wonder, like if you grew up in a place like New York or something, like do you already like what does your experience look like if you leave New
Yeah.
York? You know what I
That's a
mean? Because
question.
I'm
That's a
like,
question. That's a great question for our listeners because I'm like, where did you grow up? Because if you already grew up in a larger city that was a little bit more diverse and had, a wide range of ideologies, like, did you already go into life thinking like, yeah, this is just how it's supposed to be or whatever it is? Like,
yeah,
and then if you had to move to a small town for whatever reason, did you
yeah,
revert? I mean, I say a revert, but
yeah,
like, or did you like learn something else about like, I want to
yeah.
know. Now this is great. I want to know
Fascinating.
more
Yeah.
now.
There is a lot of self-reflection though. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, like literally when I started meditating, I started like learning about meditation and started doing a lot of that because there was a lot of like, ooh, what do I need to heal from? And what do I need to
Mhm.
like, I don't know, like rethink and question and grow from and things like that. It's, it helps when you move somewhere else.
I agree. I agree with that. And it's really interesting for me, like thinking about kind of like my this is gonna get a little bit more like detailed, but like getting into like my hair journey, right? So growing
Mm,
up in a small town in Kansas and I didn't really have people around me that looked like me, I was like, oh, like I don't know how to like style my hair. So I thought the only way possible is like I'm just gonna just straighten it till it burned off. And I because I wanted to
hmm.
look like people around me because I was so self-conscious about that.
Yeah.
Moving to San Antonio, even moving to Dallas and like experiencing people around me. I learned, I'm like, why wasn't I okay with just who I am as a person? Like who I was created. Like, why am I not happy about that? And I was able to like open up to people who looked like me and like have these conversations, be in safe spaces where there are people who, people of color and like sharing their stories and experiences. And I'm like, wow, this is just like what I experienced too. And eventually
Yeah.
just being able to fully embrace who I am as a Black woman and being able to wear my hair proudly and experiment with different styles and just like not give a fuck about what people have to say and what they do. I'm like, this is who I am and I'm proud. And it's like, I've been able to learn about and really dive into that over the last several years. I mean, girl, it's been a journey. But
I've
that,
loved watching it too. Like
yeah,
you have truly been thriving since you left that small town and just
right.
more and more so every
If
year.
you knew me in Kansas and you see me today, I am not the same person at all. And it's a good thing. I think some people get that twisted being like, "Oh, she's changed so much." And I'm like, "No. I've just finally been able to be
Grown.
me. Like I'm who I am." You know what I mean?
I
So,
love it.
yeah,
Oh,
it's good. It's good.
it is good. And I think anyone who's feeling that in a small town, like
Mhm.
feeling like the outsider, like feeling like you don't fit in, feeling like there are people that are not like you, whether it's like people who look like you, or like if you're a member of the LGBTQ community, like it can be
Right.
really tough in these small towns out here in America, like things like that. Like there are communities that you can find. There
Absolutely.
are.
And you will get the full support and then some, which is really nice.
It's beautiful. Which I mean makes you grateful, right? Makes you
It
like
does.
feel a lot of, I don't know, I look at it too for me as like every place I've ever lived, I've connected with people that I still have in my life in some way, shape, or form. Like that's why I had so much fun at my wedding. Obviously, it was like
Yeah.
great for my husband and I, but like there were just all these people from all these different stops that I had throughout my life, and you guys were like all there together. Like, and I was like, when in my life are all these people from all these different places that I've lived ever going to be in like the same exact place again? It was like so beautiful, and I'm just like really grateful for everyone who I met
Yeah.
every single place I've lived.
No, side note, I also loved your wedding. So much fun. I had a great time. But no, I completely agree about, being grateful for, those experiences, right? As much as I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to admit it, but like honestly, living in my hometown, I'm grateful for those experiences because it shaped me into who I am today and how I'm able to carry myself, how I am just able to truly be authentic and be me and
Mm-hmm.
have this experience. Because again, if it wasn't for that, like I don't even know where I would be today. So again, I won't, that's the only time I'm thanking my hometown. That's it.
And we're
But
done.
then we're done. But truthfully, like it allows you, like the people that you've met along the way, the experiences you have, just every little thing I'm very grateful for because it's led me to where I am today. And I know that we can only go up from here and I'm only going to have more experiences that I'll be grateful for in the future. So I have a lot of gratitude for that. I'm very thankful for where I'm at.
100%. Now, we've talked a lot about like what it feels like and things we've learned.
Mhm.
I think we thought it would be fun to talk about like things you had to figure out because, and not to like scare people, but just like to be like, oh, I never like thought about. But these are like things that like lead to those growth moments, I think. And you don't have to figure all this stuff out before
No.
you get there. Like some of it you do along the way when it pops up, but like little things like how to pay your bills or like oh, I moved to a different state and I have to get a new license. Like, how do I go
Oh,
to the DMV? Like, that's the
right.
worst part, honestly.
The way that I kept my Kansas driver's license for as long as I possibly could, I kept it all through San Antonio. I never once changed my license when I lived in San Antonio because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to leave again. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go back to Kansas. Like, I was like, I'm holding
Yeah.
on to it. I don't know why. But there was a moment when after I had moved to Dallas and I remember randomly looking at my license and like realizing, oh shoot, it expires this
Oh
year.
no.
And I was like, what do I do?
Now you got to go in.
I was like, now I have to go in. So it was like this whole process. I had to go find my birth certificate. I had to go find like all of these different things to change it. It was a whole thing. So that
And
was
every
back
state
in,
has different rules.
they
Like
do. And like,
when I
I
was in
remember,
California, I had to do an actual physical, like written test. I was like, oh my
oh,
God. Colorado, I didn't
absolutely
have to
not.
do that.
Exactly. Texas, thank goodness we did not have to do a test. I had to go in and like I had my license and they're like, oh, I was like, oh, can I keep it? They're like, no, we have to like you have to surrender your license. I was like, but I wanted to keep it. But never fear. So what I did prior was I actually ordered a renewal license from Kansas and I had it
Oh,
sent to me. So I still have it like my it's expired obviously, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a replacement one because I was like, oh, I can't, I'm gonna make it back to renew it. And I obviously didn't. So I had to
Oh.
surrender my original one and I have now a replacement somewhere here.
You're
There's
like,
my
for
little
what? I don't know.
piece.
I just wanted it.
What do I need it for? Absolutely nothing. I still have all of my license plates that I've had over the years. So I still have my Kansas
Yeah.
one sitting in a trunk somewhere. I have an old Texas one that I like had to transfer over and then I obviously have my new one, but it's just a whole thing, you learn and it's like an experience and then you're like, I'm never
Yeah.
doing this again and I hope it's easier for me to renew. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Also, like finding a job,
Ooh,
like that can be
girl,
stressful. I will say I
stressful.
was very fortunate when I moved to San Francisco and that like I got the job and then they paid me to move out there. So like
Yes.
real nice if you can find a company that does that in these economic times. They're less often that jobs do that, but
Yep.
finding a job can be stressful.
Absolutely. It was for me a little bit because when I moved to San Antonio, I didn't have any job lined up. I was just like, I don't know, I'm just going for grad school and hoping for the best. And
Yeah.
I unfortunately worked at the Buckle for like 2 months. So that was kind of like my starter job to get out there, at least like have some sort
Yeah.
of income before I ended up working on campus for the remainder of the time that I was there. And of course, I had like some side jobs and things, a side hustle
Yeah.
that we just talked about. But it was nice to have once I got everything figured out, it was like, all right, like now I just have a flow. And it was easier to get a job back then. Like, I don't know, I never
Yeah.
had any issues with like finding jobs in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So I was able
The
to
type of
like
job you're looking for now is probably is different than back then too,
very
though. Cause
different.
like
Yeah. Because it was between
same.
retail and I was working in the
Yeah.
restaurants and stuff like that. So it was just truly just to have multiple streams of income and
Yeah.
stay busy with studying in school and things like that.
That's how it was when I moved to Wichita too. Cause
Mhm.
it was like I have a few months before grad school starts and I knew I was gonna have a TA position when I started that. But so I worked at Twin Peaks and I worked at Abercrombie for the
Oh,
summer. And
yeah. That's
that's what I did.
right. I
Yeah.
forgot about those two.
Like
What
my
a
little
time.
life side quest, my side quest.
Yeah. Gosh, I forgot all about
Yeah.
that. Uh-huh.
And then what else?
Oh, yeah. Friends and community, I think is also something we had to figure out because again, us moving into these spaces where we don't know people, it's like, okay, well, how am I supposed to make friends? Where am I supposed to find a, community that I feel like I belong to?
Yep.
And that was very, and you've known this. For me, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't really that much of a challenge for me because I tend to make friends easily. So
Yeah.
in grad school, that was kind of like my first set of friends. I had grad school friends, and those friends
Yep.
the entire duration. I mean, we went out together. We'd be in class together. We go home for a couple hours, change, and then be out at the karaoke bar. I mean, it was just a thing. We had a whole
Yeah.
community. So that was really fun. And then I had
Hmm.
also a church community and I like was volunteering as like a youth group leader for a little bit. So I had like that team of people. And then just people that I was meeting like throughout other like networking, even dates that I went on. Some of the guys ended up being my friends. So
Yeah.
like I was just all about like I was like friends, 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 all the friends. So that was actually the least challenging part for me,
Hmm.
but it was also still challenge in a sense of like figuring out who is actually like really for you and who's just like
Yeah.
trying to get to know things about you to like go against you, which I ended up running into some of those people along the way, but they were cut with the quickness.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Cut them off.
Hmm.
Boundaries.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I think this has always been the harder one for me for sure. I just get a lot of social anxiety and stuff. Like when I was like younger and I like drank a lot, it was a lot easier, but I don't do
Mm,
that anymore. So it's always like a lot harder for me now. But I mean, same thing. Like it's like you're finding new circles and like new groups of people, and you might be in like a new place in life when you make a move too. So it might be like, okay,
right.
like I hung around with these kind of people and we did these kinds of things, but like I'm in a different phase in life, so maybe I want something different this time, and
It's
all of
true.
that goes along with it for sure.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
and then the other thing is just like your local routine. Like
Ugh,
I think that's just the thing. It's like,
that was hard for me.
where do I get groceries? Like, oh shoot, I haven't had a dental cleaning in a couple of months, and I try to do that every 6 months. Where do I go now for that? Like
Right. I was
that
like, oh, I
stuff, you
need
gotta,
like yeah, I need my women's exam. Where do I go? Who do I go to? How do I trust? Like, do I trust them? I don't know. So
yeah,
many things. Yes.
100%. And so that just like it just takes time, and if you can
Hmm.
find a group of community, that's like an easy way to find out good places too. Because
That's true.
some, sometimes you Google search something and it's like, I'm overwhelmed. Why are there like 40 different places I could go? Like, how am I supposed to choose?
And the easiest part for me, like a little pro tip is that if you can find good things in the area that you're living, stick with that first. And then if you need to
Yeah.
expand, do that. Like the first, like the first apartment that I lived in San Antonio, there was a Walmart and then there was a Target that was like right within like 5 minutes of me. So that was kind of where I frequented for a little bit. So I'm like, it was easy. And
Yeah.
then also HEB, favorite grocery store, that was also in the area. So I would like bounce around to those three areas. And then restaurants were really close by. And then doctors, same thing. Like I just found one based on recommendation from somebody in grad school. And I was like, I guess this is my doctor now.
Great. Great.
And they
Appreciate
were
that. I
great, like
trust you.
yeah, and they were great, so it actually ended up working out, like, the first doctor I tried, it was great, but, that obviously is not always the case, but I would do your research and not just go with the first one, don't do what I did.
No, but that's helpful though, right? Like if
Yeah,
somebody like has had a good experience with them and you trust them already, then that's a good way to do it, I think.
that's very true.
Yeah, it just like takes time to get your routine down. It's a learning curve, but again, all those learnings are growth moments, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I feel like that's a pretty good setup for all of what we've talked about in terms of, like, leaving your hometown. Is there anything else you wanna add to that? Because I feel like we've pretty much covered it.
No, I'll save my last thoughts for our last drop of tea later, but this is fun. It's a fun journey, and yeah, it's a lot of like if you're looking for growth and you're looking for something new, I think it's a good thing to consider.
I think so too. I think so too. Well, with that, we're going to move now into our podcast game, our favorite segment of the entire podcast. So, this time, I mean, honestly, we talk about so many fun things, so it's great. But but today we're going to talk about our icks again. So, basically, we're going to just dive into what we are finding icky at the moment, things that we just can't
Mm,
stand. So, I'm going to kick it off with my
do
current
it.
ick is people who get on the internet and cry.
Absolutely not.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely not.
Now, I'm going to say this. If you are telling a story, if you get on, I'm going to just use TikTok as an example because this is where I see it. If you're on TikTok and you're telling me a story about X, right? You're telling me a story about something that maybe happened to you or whatever, and you start crying, that's fine because I'm probably crying with you because
Yeah.
it's bringing that emotion in. Totally get that. Not when I scroll and I already see you mid Kim K cry and you're telling me something that's honestly not even that sad. Why are you on the internet doing that? Why are you doing
Yeah.
that? Why are you it's so not it's just not authentic. It is
Mm-mm.
performative. I don't like
So
it and
performative.
it is. And I'm like, I get it. Like people want to come on here and be like, "Well, we just want to show that like we're real and like you can relate." Cool. There's a way to do that without coming on the internet sobbing and snotting everywhere. I don't need to see that. I don't need
Ah,
to see that. All you gotta do is just be yourself. You can come on, without makeup. You can come on like your hair up in a messy, like whatever it is, just like coming in as you are and telling a story. And then like
mm,
if it's bringing in emotion, you start crying or whatever, cool. Cause I'm right there with
Mm.
you. I'm not gonna fault you for telling a story and it brings up an emotion, but don't get on the internet when you're already crying and be like, I just don't understand. Why? Why are you doing that?
Oh, yeah,
No,
a
you can take
hundred
like
percent.
2 minutes to like chill out a little bit and then come on, because then if you then cry after that, fine. But don't come on there already waterworks. I don't want to see it.
It's to me, it's like I I actually like feel genuinely sorry for them, not because of whatever's happened that's causing them cry. Of course, could be sad or not, but like the fact that you are in such an emotional state and your first thought is I should record this. Like that is
Right.
bizarre behavior. And this is coming from someone who tries to create content every single day. Never in my life when I'm having an emotional breakdown about anything am I like, get the camera.
Right.
Absolutely not. That's like a vulnerable, that's like a terrible moment. If you're really that upset that you are Kim K crying, you are not, that's not the time to record.
That's what I don't understand. I'm like, how are you like, yeah, I'm gonna get the camera out and just like continue this war? Like,
It's
I don't,
performative. It's so
yeah,
performative.
it is. And you're doing it for likes and views. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Gives me the ick. Gives me the ick
very
100%.
much so. Oh, girl, what about you? What's your current ick?
My current ick is when people are late. Okay, and let me clarify this. Like you're late once, I get it. Like it happens. I've been late before. Nobody's perfect.
Mhm.
In fact, I used to be the kind of person who was so obsessively early to everything that I would like sit in my car for 20 minutes before something started. And I have gotten to a point now where I'm like, that's one unnecessary. And like two, I'm not gonna have a full-blown panic attack about being on time because that's also not healthy. Like it's okay if you're like maybe a minute late or something like that. But like
Yeah.
if you have a standing scheduled appointment for something, for example, if I have already a 4 hour window you're supposed to show up to my house to do something and you're still not showing up within that 4 hour window that I'm supposed to be available for you, like I'm not okay with it. I'm just like, and especially if it's a service that you get regularly. I'm not going to go into too many details here, but a service that you get regularly, and every time they're late, and then you tell them, hey, think we could focus on like maybe being on time next time. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And then next time they're not. Like like it infuriates me
Oh
in my
yeah.
bones. And I'm sorry, but like I'm a busy person. I have a schedule. I work full time. I have all these side hustles, which we talked about on the last episode. Like I
Yep.
cannot, I cannot wait on you for hours at a time. It makes me infuriated. And I just genuinely don't understand how people run businesses and are that late. Like I
I
just
don't
don't
either.
understand how they do it.
Like, and then you have things to do.
Like, oh, so many things to do. And I
You have
feel like
things
I
to
have
do.
appointments every week now. I'm like, how do I have so many appointments all the time for something? It's always something. And
It's
then
always
it's, oh,
something. No,
yeah.
I can agree with that. Now, I can't say too much though, because I don't want anybody to call me out. Well, you've been late before. Yeah, I know. Very aware
Yeah.
of that. But guess what? I
We're all,
communicate.
yeah.
I
Yes.
communicate. That's the
That.
issue. Is that if you do not communicate when you're late and you just show up acting like everything's fine and dandy, it's not. Fun fact,
Mm-mm.
it's not. Communicate. If you know you're going to be 15 minutes late, say it. If you know you're going to be
Yes.
running like very late, say that.
Yes.
I mean, we can go on and on.
Yeah. Like, and like, I get it. Like, I give grace,
Oh,
like I give
100%.
grace. Things happen, some accident you didn't expect, but like when there's like, especially when there's like a repeated pattern, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know. Do you not get it? Like, I'm sorry. Is my time not as important as yours? Like, I get like legitimately pissed.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I've been late before too, and like you said, it can communicate. Hey, sorry, I'm running late this morning. Hey, can we like push it back to this time? Like, totally reasonable. But like,
I agree.
it's the obliviousness for me. It gives me the ick.
Oh, I know. I know. Well, we're not going to spend too much time on it because I mean, you and I could go on and on about our icks.
We'll save them for future
We'll
episodes.
save it for a future episode, but I think now we can close. So, as you all know, we like to drop the last bit of tea after every episode. So, Jess,
Yes. Okay. So the last drop of tea for today is that you're even thinking about leaving your hometown, you should 1,000% do it. Even if you decide later that you're like, actually, I kind of miss my hometown and I want to move back. People do that. That's totally fine, but you're still going to grow from it. And leaving's going to help you grow. And it's just worth it. So go for it, do it, and tell us how it goes.
I agree with that 100%.
Yay. All right. Well, we will talk to you all soon.
Bye, y'all.